Hello everyone, Havoc here, and today I'm going to be discussing a very vital issue we have in the game. And it's up to us as a community to fix it on the in-game portion and bring up ideas to Papaya through the GMs that we do have. As you're well aware, we have some more GMs that are in the game now, and they are really trying to improve the game's experience for us. They really are. They've been working on new events and making changes to these events based upon the feedback that we give them. They've introduced the poker tournament, the new Harley Quinn event. It's pretty good, but my personal opinions on it, they could have more rewards than what they did this last time, which was 2 rewards. I think if they dedicated, 30 minutes, 50 minutes to, 30 minutes to an hour to this event, with a whole lot more prizes, be a whole lot more receptive. Which I'm sure if it's brought up, they will do such a thing because they do seem to care about making the game better for us. Now, let's get to the point and start talking about some things that would help improve the game on multiple different levels of the game. Okay, so the first and most obvious problem that we have: new players. So back in Gamma, we had the first mate program. We could really use that in the game right now. New players coming into the game can really have a hard time getting the start in things. And now with Sagres being the only school that they can join whenever they come in, they can't even go to Sagres because of port permits. So they can't even go to the school. Another issue with Sagres doesn't teach you anything about how the game works. It doesn't. It's just take the quest, do the quest, boom, done with the quest. But if you don't even know what you're doing, how are you supposed to take the quest? That's where the old school mechanics sat there, and they led you in, even if they were still bad. The old school was still bad, but they had more direction than what Sagres does. So the Sagres school method is more convenient for older players, veteran players, experienced players. It's not new player friendly. So if we had the first mate program back, those first mates could sit there and connect with these new players and sit there and help them get past that beginning, get them past the first 2 hours of the game. They could be able to sit there and help them be able to get to the school. Even sit there and offer rides and sit there and tow them around a little bit, or show them, what the game is even about. Because as long as we have the new players feeling like they are worthwhile, make it like the new players feel like they are welcome here, they will stay here, because this game is one of a kind. There's no other game like this. Naval Action tried, but they failed. This game is the only game of this kind, and that's why it's able to still survive even with all the problems that it has. For me, it's nostalgia because I used to play the SNES games. But even still, I know that this is the only game like it. Now, next thing, let's be honest. The next thing, events. We have quite a few. And for some players, these events are all just kind of bleh. And fun to others, they are very fun. But for others, they are just they're not enticing at all. So you have to have events that allow all the players to be able to participate. Even if, say, this event isn't meant for Maritimers, and that event is both Maritimers and what the other event is meant for, They're both allowing both types of players to sit there and be involved with events. Now, let's imagine that they did have some maritime events. Here's some ideas. Let's say Ganondorf invasion into the open sea, where GMs sit there and they take the bosses from Ganondorf, bring them into the open sea, randomly spaced or just in a central location, whatever. It could be a different Ganondorf boss in a different sea zone every week or every 2 weeks. And each one of them gives specific rewards upon defeating them, like actually valuable stuff. We know that this can be done since, they did do that whole drop rate of like ESBRs on the plunder event, where you could sit there and plunder ESBRs from ships that wouldn't normally drop the ESBRs. And I'm sure that this would sit there and have Maritimers sitting there going out and doing things out in the open sea, not just keep it in Europe, but sit there and expand it, Caribbean, Africa, India, East Asia, Southeast Asia, Hobart. The one place that nobody visits, Hobart. South America, North America, San Francisco side of North America, all that stuff. You can sit there and involve yourself in sailing to go participate in these events and, fight these Ganondorf bosses that have came into the open world and now they are a threat, and you gotta sit there and compete to sit there and get to the fleet. But if you take that exact same concept, and this is one that I don't know whether or not it's able to be done, but imagine this. You're going sailing down the sea zone, and on the horizon you see a giant fish sitting there jumping out of the water, and it's the Sea of Wonders monster. It's a Zur Cetus. And he's just waiting there for somebody to come in there and attack him, or maybe he attacks you if you sail within a certain range of him. Then NAM banners and traders, they have to sit there and be conscious of where they're going, and seeing that, oh, one of those phantom monsters is over there, we need to divert our path to avoid them. Or you see a 5 fleet going towards them that's planning on sitting there fighting it, and it still sits there and gives good drops. Or you have your fleet going and then a random event happens and you're ambushed by Leviathan. Instead of the Kraken just showing up smacking in front of your ship for damaging your ship parts, this random event happens and Leviathan pops up right next to you. That'd be great in my opinion. It'd give a kind of feeling of the world is alive. That this monster is sitting there seeing you sailing in the water and then just like says, I'm gonna attack you. That'd be great. Not great for, adventurers and traders, but for the maritime people, most definitely it'd be fun in my opinion. Now, I don't really know if that stuff is possible, but if it is, I think it's an idea that the GMs should sit there and look at and consider. Same with the Ganondorf bosses, I think that should be considered. Something that I really think we should also get back is the group of people that were event coordinators. The people that sat there and came up with ideas or took people's ideas of like events and passed them on to the GMs, that had a direct line to the GMs and said, hey, this idea, we think it would be fun. Do you think it is possible? and then the GMs would decide whether it's possible or not, and whether or not they could fit it into an event schedule. I think we need them back. I think we need the First Mate program back. Gamma survived off of that stuff. Now, I don't know much about the event coordinators. All I know is that they did the event planning and giving that information to the GMs. And then the GMs took care of it after that. If you want to know more about the event coordinator, you can always sit there and talk to Ghazi, because Ghazi used to be an event coordinator. I don't know who else all used to be. I used to be one of the first mates, so I know what the first mates used to do. And there's a lot of people that we sat there in the school chat, and we sat there and helped people be able to get through all the tough times. Now, another event that is greatly missed, because it was always fun to sit there and do it. BC with the GMs. It was simple, it brought out Maritimers, you had a GM on each side of the BC battle. Whoever sinks the GM, they would win prizes. Now, someone more experienced in trade and adventure would definitely have better ideas than what I do for trade adventure events, which I strongly encourage you all to leave a comment sitting there saying any kind of events that you think that trade or adventure would like, or a maritime event that you think would be fun. So definitely let me know in the comments your ideas. Now, here's where we're going to go into the touchy subject. Monetizing the game. The marketing strategy. The way Papaya makes their money. How we keep our server alive. Like financially, be able to sit there and keep the server actually paid for. And keep Papaya employees paid for to be able to sit there and do their job. This is going to be a double-edged sword. And some's going to agree with me, some's not going to agree with me. You'll have your whales who make so much money in game because they spend money on the codes, spend money on CTs, they open it and they say, oh, I spent this much money on this, so it must be worth double that. Right? That's how it works, right? I gambled and I finally won what I want, and it took me this much money to win this, so it must be worth double that. Okay. I am biased on that. And this is coming from somebody that used to spend money on the game like that, and I would spend a lot of money on the game. But I just also knew that it was a gamble, and there was no definite guarantee I was going to win something expensive. That's part of just gambling. Now, let's think about this for a minute. How about this for an idea? All the resources are there. All they got to do is sit there and just put the idea into action. So you take your current cove, and 2 weeks are up. We do the bi-weekly update. The code goes into the CT, right? Well, in 2 weeks after that, the CT becomes nothing. The stuff that was in the CT, gone for good, until they bring it back into the cove. What if instead of after the CT changes, the stuff in the CT, like those valuable things, the ships, the armor, the sailor equipment, the gear, all that stuff, it goes onto the website, into the pop-up shop. Because right now what it is you get the code. Yep, that's a random loot box. And then it gets put into the CT, which is a random loot box. And then it disappears, and the pop-up shop is being used for lottery tickets, which is another random loot box. If you want to see how running a game off of just loot boxes, go look at Wargaming and what's going on with them right now with their random loot boxes. They are having the worst feedback they have ever had because they have went completely reliable on loot boxes. Now, let's say the last CT goes into the shop. Let's say that all the little stuff, the NPCs, the SSIPs, the SRIs, the little stuff, the stuff that you're not actually, opening these tickets for, opening the code for, that stuff's in the pop-up shop all the time. You can buy it anytime in the pop-up shop. And let's give them a set UWC price like they do on the in-game shop. Then let's say they put PNG, SROG, PLOG, PIATs on the website for say 10,000 UWC. That's like 100 US dollars. You could buy the PNG, the PLOG, the SROG, the PIATs for basically 100 bucks. I guarantee you there will be many people that will sit there and buy the PNG, the PROG, the PLOG, all those top end ships for a set amount, more likely than they will sit there and play the Cove or play the CT to be able to open and find it. With this theory, with this idea, people who play Cove, they get a month of being able to play the Cove and win these ships and win the ships that they want before anybody can sit there and buy it outright. When it goes to the CT, they have 2 weeks of being able to pull one of these ships for less than what it's going to be set for UWC price. And then once it goes into the pop-up shop for guaranteed you can buy it now, it's been a month. Everybody's been able to sit there and have these new ships for a month, 2 weeks. They get their benefit of having it early. And then everybody else gets their chance to sit there and get it. Because right now, there's only 3 ships you can guarantee buy, and that is an Expedition T-Clipper, a Custom Large Clipper, and Custom Vasu. Those are all beginning ships. You can't sit there and buy any others, and you have to buy the packs to be able to even buy those. So, you take 10,000 UWC, which is $100 in US dollars. Now those ships have a 60 CT value. Drastically different from the current price, right? The PNG, SROG, the PLOG, the PIATs. SROG is going for 600 CTs right now. It become a $100 value, which would bring it down to 60 CTs. It's more affordable for the everyday player. Meanwhile, Papaya is still going to make their money. They're still going to make plenty of money and probably even more money. And the player base is going to sit there and be able to afford things again because things are going to be cheaper on the UWC side to, get the things that they want. Now, there's another idea that would also help. I don't know if it's possible because it involves, making a whole new NPC, but several other MMOs put into play is a conversion rate of in-game money to real life money, like currency-wise. So let's imagine the idea. Close your eyes and think about it. Max ducat value that a player can have is 300 million without checks. So let's say one UWC is able to be bought for say 10 mil. 300 mil you can buy 30 UWC. So if someone makes say 500 mil on an Amban trip, turns that into 50 UWC. Let's say they make 4 to 5 trips a day. That's 200 to 250 UWC per day on those trips. They do that for 30 days. 4 to 5, that's 4 to 5 hours of, name band trips. They earn 6,000 to 7,500 UWC. That's in a month. That's not like, oh, overpowered. That's 6,000 to 7,500 within a month. They can sit there and keep them being able to pay for their speed boost. That's able to sit there and buy CTs. They're able to sit there and do the stuff they want to do. As a free player, they can still make it and be able to compete with all the real money spenders, the people that want to get all that stuff fast. Now that they spent all that time, they got 6,000 to 7,500 UWC of hard work. They're going to be able to buy like 40 to 45 CT with that UWC, and they're going to then be able to afford a really nice ship. Now, Papaya, listen to this for a second and consider it. There's a way to be able to sit there and test whether or not this theory would work. Put a nice ship, like say Superior Sovereign of the Seas. It's not top-end ship, but it's not a bad ship. It's actually, I would buy it. There's a lot of people that like the Sovereign of the Seas, just as a ship itself. Let's see how many get purchased from the website shop. You put the Superior Sovereign of the Seas in the website shop, and let's see if people buy it. Now, you want to know how much to set it up for? It's not top end. Let's say 40 CTs. So you take 198, you times it by 40. The website price would be about 7,920 UWC. Humor the community and see how well it does. If it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. But I would say the community as a whole would actually approve of a business strategy like this. If you agree with this idea, leave a comment on this video, letting the world know that you agree with this statement. Because if you sit there and agree with it and you leave a comment, when this video gets seen by GMs and gets seen by the people with Papaya, they will be able to sit there and look at the comments and be like, our community actually wants this, so let's see what we can do. It no longer becomes, well, this is just one person's view and nobody else is agreeing with it, so we don't have to even worry about it. I'm telling you, this idea, inflation goes down, players come back to the game, new players can sit there and join the game and not feel discouraged by not being able to buy anything. It would be a absolutely great idea, in my opinion. I have heard the comment so many times. I tried to come back to game, but I can't afford to play the game anymore because everything costs too much. That should never be an issue. It's not about whether or not there's UWC ships. It's not about whether or not Papaya has put so much emphasis on buying UWC and buying things to be able to sit there and keep the server up. It's about being able to afford things that are UWC. You give players the ability to sit there and buy it, the community will grow, which means more people will be spending money on the game, which means our server can stay alive and not fall victim to anything that's happened in the past. Maris can be the longest living international server that UWO has had. This game is unique, it's one of a kind. As long as people can afford to play, as long as people can afford to play, you always have players in the game. And players will continue to grow and grow as there is a real stable, real money to in-game money economy. I know at the end of the day, Papaya, you are a business and you need to make money as a business to be able to afford to keep the game running. But I can assure you that this idea can and will make you more money. You wanted to fix the economy in the beginning of the server. that didn't really work out. Now try some ideas. These tactics have worked in other games for a long, long time, and it's been proven to be able to sustain a stable in-game community. It's been 25 minutes. I thank you players so much for your time. I'm glad that you all sat there and listened to me for this long. Hope to see you in game. To the GMs and Papaya, thank you for the attempts you've made to try to make the game better recently. And here's to the future of Maris. Everybody have a good day.